Hello, I'm Cat, and thanks to a brand new beta and preview, we now know what's going to be inside of the next update after the summer drop. The Chase the Skies drop is coming soon, and the update after that is actually going to be bigger than we expected. This is a lot of changes that they are making to the Bedrock version of the game, and they are largely good changes, but there's also some bad stuff in there too. Let's go through all of the big stuff today, as well as why it's got such a long version name, and hopefully you enjoy this video as we do that. Like it if you like it, subscribe if you really do, because I'm recording this from a very wet Japanese park. This came out at 4 a.m. my time, because I'm on East Asian time right now, and obviously this happens. I need to share it somehow, and so I'm here in the park with the good news and the bad news. We'll start with the very good stuff first, that I'll be sharing with you from my phone, because I pre-recorded this. I can't really play the Minecraft beta here. With that said, let's get right into it, and let's start with the very good news, the easily clickbaitable part of this update, because did you know Minecraft have made an end update? And that's not untrue, but the actual change is this. One of the big headline features of this is that the spawn point can now be set in the end using a command. That means that if I show you footage of the end, which, as a reminder, thanks to the summer drop, the Chase the Skies drop, which is in the past in the context of this beta, now will look like this. As of again, in the next week or two, your end will update to look like this too. But that isn't what they've changed. What they've changed is this command, so that now, when you die in the end, you can choose to respawn here. And I know for a lot of people, this feels like it should have happened already. After all, you've got respawn anchors in the Nether, you've got beds in the overworld, but there hasn't been a way to set your spawn point in the end. But now there is. And so does this mean that an end update is confirmed? You know what, weirdly, as much as a cynic as I usually am, I'm actually going to say yes. An end update is definitely coming, and the proof of that is the fact that they made a huge visual change. They put a lot of work into it in the last drop, Chase the Skies, technically our next drop. And so now this is the update after the Chase the Skies drop, which is 1.21.90. This is 1.21.100, where they're updating it again. They are doing the technical groundwork that they need to make those fun features in the future, because now if they want to make an equivalent of the respawn anchor for the end, now the tech already exists. They just have to make a gameplay reason for it to exist. And so an end update is definitely coming, but I'm then going to give you the cynicism and say, like, yeah, on a long enough time span, basically any update for Minecraft is coming. When it comes to this end update, I would say, yeah, in the same way that Vibrant Visuals was in the works for years, they laid the groundwork years in advance of actually making it. This could be a sign that in 2029 there's an end update coming. I would say you've got a small chance of seeing it for the autumn or summer, for the autumn or winter drop, but I would just keep your expectations tiny so that you won't be whiny. And now, as far as the other changes they've made, so keep in mind that this is going to be a Bedrock only drop. Or rather Bedrock only update. Drops are the cross-platform things that come out for both Java and Bedrock, and then there are Bedrock only drops that Bedrock only updates that tend to come out in between these. And so we had 1.20.1.60 after the Garden Awakens, we had 1.21.80 after the Spring to Life, and now we're about to have 1.21.100. And so one of the big changes they tend to make in these is parity, because if they added new features just to Bedrock, they'd be making parity worse. That's Mojang's stated goal, is not to do that, and so instead they add features to Bedrock that are already on the Java edition of the game to bring the two versions closer. And sometimes these are just objectively good changes. So, for example, if you go into a swamp now, you'll be able to see that underneath trees, now you can find mushrooms there. This is a great thematic change. That it was just kind of broken that it wasn't that way before. The same is true for mangrove swamps. You can now find 1 block wide puddles. If you've ever played both versions of Minecraft, Java and Bedrock, you'll notice that they're just different for no good reason, and I think they're more thematic on Java. It's cool to see that they've gone some way into fixing that. And so these are great examples of fixing a thing that is clearly broken. But then we have cases where things just get a little bit worse. So the easiest kind of middle ground would be the snowy plains. Now in these snowy plains, you can find trees. They're very sparse, but you can find trees there on a higher rate than you could before. This isn't a case where, I guess it depends on how you feel about the snowy plains. Should it be untouched snow, or should there be a tree occasionally? Now there are trees, which is good for survival, but maybe bad for the aesthetics. But then we have cases like the Grove, which has fewer trees than before. From our testing, by the way, it looks like there's still lots of trees there. And we've got cases like tying a lead to a wall, which, as you can see right here, is a feature which is no longer the case because they've removed it in this beta. And this is interesting because, again, I think this is technically making Minecraft, Java, and Bedrock behave more like each other, but by removing a Bedrock feature. I'll be honest, I don't use this feature very often, if at all, but it's just a case of like, so then why remove it? Why not just add it to Java? I don't quite understand on that, but the worst offender, in my opinion, has to come when we look at the frozen ocean. If you've never experienced the frozen ocean on both platforms, on Bedrock it is this iceberg biome. It's endless ice, it's really fun to traverse, people love it, it's whimsical, whereas on Java it's much rocky, it's waterier, let's say. It's really, really painful to ride a boat on here, and just in general it's not that fun of a place, and so they've decided to bring parity to the game. Rather than making the less fun version into the more fun version, instead the Bedrock version looks like this. Bad news, everyone, global warming has hit the Bedrock version of the game hard, and I just don't get it. I just don't get why the people who are developing Minecraft and putting a lot of time into making these updates and doing a good job. I mean, look at the list of changes they have here. Why are they putting so much work into making the Bedrock biome worse? They're removing one of the cool things about Minecraft, and I just don't get it. I'm gonna be, maybe it's just me, tired brain, you know, I woke up only a few hours ago here. Maybe it's too early in the morning. Who's meant to be awake at 7 a.m., you know? But maybe this is just me being tired brain, and maybe this is actually a great change in some way I can't see. Let me know in the comments if you think that that's true. But I think they just made Bedrock worse, and the argument is because Java is worse. And it's like, no, you have two versions of the game. Take from the good version and add to the bad one. Like, if you think about it, most Bedrock players have never played Java. As far as they're concerned, Java exists. It's like a part of the history of Minecraft. Maybe they watched a video on it, but as far as they're concerned, why are you making their game worse so it matches some version they might not have ever interacted with? It's the, imagine if you're a Java player and that makes no sense to you, imagine there is a Minecraft copy from an alternate universe where things are just wrong and broken and everything works differently. You wouldn't want to make your Minecraft like that Minecraft, right? But that's what's happening to Bedrock players, and it's a bit of a bummer, because while we would love to see them focus on things like subtitles, by the way, they've made all of these changes to audio, and so there's been some speculation. I'm not going to necessarily confirm this. I don't think it's true, but they've made, there's been some speculation that they are adding subtitles. I think they're definitely laying the groundwork. It's been 9 years since they were added to Java, so that should be a priority to add to Bedrock, because subtitles are a feature that makes your game better, or you don't turn them on. Icebergs not being icy make your game better if you hate fun, or they make your game worse all the time because you can't turn them off. These are the, I think that making atmospheric changes is important, but someone is just looking at all of these biome changes. You know, it's the same with every parity change they make. Someone just looks at a big list of changes, implements it, but then doesn't consider that, or whoever is making the list of changes doesn't consider that some of these actually might be better going the other way. Sure, it would be a pain to take 5 biome changes from Java and bring them to Bedrock, and then make 3 biome changes from Bedrock and bring them to Java, but you would make Minecraft better if you did that, and I wish that they would consider doing that for the future, but they didn't. And so now, I just have to say that this is going to be a parity update, but it's one that I'm not looking forward to, despite all the positive changes. And so now that we've mentioned that very clearly, I think the other big question you might have about this, now that we've answered what's inside of it, is why 1.21.100? And great question, you. I'll answer it, but back home, because I was ready for this.
So why 1.21.100, and what does this mean? And the answer is, surprisingly, in Mojang context, not as much as you might think, because they use a very different system for versioning numbers than most other software, which usually implies that if you go to, say, 0.9 and then up to the next version, you have to go up to 1.0 or at least 0.9.1. Using multiple version numbers is entirely fine, but usually software tries to follow this rule of being 1 digit per version slot, but Minecraft of course does not, and you can tell this because when they reached 1.9, they went straight up to 1.10 and have continued going upwards to 1.21. And so when Minecraft reaches 1.21.90, you might think, well, they're gonna go to 95 or 99, right? But no, Minecraft version numbers can contain as many digits in each of the fields. Interestingly, this isn't true for editor mode. When editor mode reached 0.9.9, they should have gone to 0.9.10, but they actually went to 0.9.9 and then 0.9.9.9 as a funny little aside, but usually version numbers can go up only to 10, but Minecraft says, nah, we'll go up to as many version numbers as we like, because they don't need to follow the usual system, and so 1.21.100 is not a sign that 1.22 is never coming, but it is a sign that it doesn't ever have to come, and I think the best way to prove this would actually be the last time that they majorly updated visuals to the game. You know, back when vibrant visuals was just someone being clever with alliteration and wasn't an idea we knew about, but RTX came to Minecraft during the never update phase. They had to make a whole new rendering engine. The Render Dragon is what they called it. Wow, very fun. I enjoyed it. But they had to make the Render Dragon, and so they implemented this in 1.16.200. That means that if Minecraft wants to delay 1.22 any further, as is their right to do, I guess, then they could delay it based on the current version system of going one major drop, one minor drop. 1.110 would be the next minor drop, and so they could go for a whole another 8 drops or 2 years from now before they reached 0.200, and realistically 0.200 wasn't a cap. They could go all the way up to 0.990, which means instead of just waiting a full 2 years, we could be waiting 22 years for Minecraft 1.22 under the current drop system, and even then, who's to say that Mojang can't go for 4-digit version numbers? In other words, what I'm saying here is we might be about to enter our biggest ever period between major version numbers for Minecraft. I mean, already we're basically there. 1-a-year updates are actually slow in the grand scheme of Minecraft's history, and so going more than a year without an update has literally only happened twice, and the biggest time was 1.9 after 1.8. It was slightly over 15 months between these updates. Fun fact, this was because of the Microsoft takeover, and also fun fact, this is an update which is controversial to this day on Java, and still isn't fully on Bedrock, but a different point for a different time. But anyway, the interesting thing about that gap is that it really was a once-off moment because of the Microsoft purchase, but we might be going longer than that. In fact, it's almost a guarantee, because 15 months would be what we would end up with if the next game drop was an update. If the autumn drop, in other words, the next thing they're working on is, in fact, 1.22, then we would be in track for almost the longest gap between 2 versions, potentially the longest. But if it's not the autumn drop, if it's the winter drop, or even years into the future, then we are entering our biggest period between 2 major version numbered updates. Isn't that a fun fact? Okay then, I guess the other question you might have to ask, relating to this version number, is 1.16.100 the autumn drop? Almost certainly not. Again, we've seen a TikTok format, where 1.20, 1.30, 50, 70, and 90 have been the last 4 drops, and so predictably, 1.20, 1.110 would be the one after this. We are yet to see how that goes.
But if I can interject here from the future, what we do know, based on previous drops, is that we'll start to see the first features, the first inkling of what that might be very shortly. As soon as Chase the Skies comes out in the 1.20, 1.100 betas, that's when we'll start to see features that will be in that next update. And that is slightly confusing that we've now got a beta for a update that is going to have some features, a lot of parity changes, and then we're going to see a more final update come out the one after that. But that is the Minecraft drop cycle, and it's been working well so far. I hope that they're willing to concede a little bit when it comes to parity. But yeah, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you want to know something fun, by the way, the park I'm in, there was a shrine in here, and I was kind of curious, like I looked into it. This is a shrine that you can come and pray to, and you might think like, oh, that's kind of cool, it's like a traditional religion in that way, but you pray at this particular one if you want to have good fortune on winning the lottery. And if you want to get rich and you want to get lucky in that way, this is the shrine for you. And I just wanted to share that because I love a lot of like old folksy religions have like, they have like their things warp into more modern ones. But what I think that is the best proof we have that capitalism is to some extent a religion in our modern day ethos. The fact that, yeah, you can pray for good fortune in the literal sense. You can pray that you'll win the lottery, and I think that's fun. Maybe you think it's fun too. But yeah, I am I'm in Japan just for another day. It's been like a 2-day layover on the way to the Philippines, which I'm very excited for. So hopefully I don't have to make any Minecraft news videos from there. But if you want to see what I've been up to here, here is a convenience store I went into last night. It's like all normal sandwich flavors, and then chocolate, mint chip, and whipped cream. I've got to know. I've got to know. So, from the street of Tokyo, the chocolate mint chip sandwich. That is oddly nostalgic. It tastes exactly like that cheap chocolate spread that you could have as a kid, but with the added bonus of mint. And there's chocolate chips in here. This is one of the strangest things I've ever had. This dessert dare I say it, is actively delicious. And because it tastes like childhood, it feels healthy, despite the fact that literally nothing in the 90s was healthy. 9 out of 10. Gonna eat the whole thing for sure. Anyway, I just went and prayed at the shrine, and so if you notice that we hit 2 million subscribers anytime soon, then you know exactly how we did it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this particular piece of content on the internet. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and consider subscribing if you want to help out with that shrine. Or, you know, actually, you don't have to subscribe. It's going to happen by itself. I've already done the hard work. You can sit back and enjoy. Unless you don't like the idea of me having a lot of subscribers. You know, once I hit 2 million, it's the moment I stop caring. Who's to say that's not true? Anyway, thank you. Hope you all enjoyed. And hopefully Mojang sees some sense on some of the changes. Java developers, if you're watching this, look at the Bedrock version of the Frozen Ocean. It's cool. You could implement it. You could be the heroes. People in Java would be like, oh, that's cool. That's nice. But yeah, hopefully you do that. So I'll see you next time. Goodbye. It's a cool street, by the way. Like, look at that building. Look at the one behind it. Love this stuff.